have to talk about everything that happened at Miss Universe last year. Okay, I know I have been away, I know I have been on hiatus, but I will discuss all of that later on at the end of the video for the like 3 of you who actually care. But last year, Miss Universe was such an acid trip that we just have to like talk about everything that happened. So first of all, on January 3rd, it was actually revealed that the Miss Universe owner was selling 50% of Miss Universe's shares to the Legacy Holding Group in Mexico, which is owned by this guy called Raul Rocha Cantu, and everybody was kind of shocked or surprised by this sort of, because Miss Universe had made this whole big deal about being a pageant owned by women for women, and now they were selling 50% of this pageant to this other guy, basically making him a co-owner of Miss Universe. And a lot of people were wondering, well, how is this going to work? Because Miss Universe was owned by JKN at the time. She had 100% ownership of Miss Universe. Anne, that is. We all know her. We all, I was going to say love, but it's mostly loathe. We all know her, let's just say that. And she was based in Thailand, but Miss Universe was still basically based in New York in the US. But with this new ownership by Legacy Holding Group in Mexico, it was revealed that they would oversee operations in the Americas, so North America and South America, whilst JKN will still oversee operations in the rest of the world, the other continents, Europe, Africa, the whole of Asia, Oceania, you know the gist. But everyone was like, well, does this not mean that now there will be some sort of Latin takeover at Miss Universe? Which, since they took over, we haven't really seen, but people were a bit afraid that there would be some sort of Latin takeover and that it would be Latin countries winning from now until oblivion. People were also just generally confused about why Anne would do this, but if you know the history of JKN and Anne, you would know that she is in a lot of debt, or was rather, and so a lot of people just assumed that this move was just made in order to get some money to pay off debt. But if this was the case, then why were people so upset about this particular individual that the shares were sold to, Raul Rocha Cantu? Well, this man is actually no stranger to controversy either. You see, he was one of the owners of a casino in Mexico, which was attacked in 2011 by gang members, or basically a drug cartel called the Zetas group, you know, and they attacked this casino. They set everything ablaze. They came in, they threw petrol on everything, or gasoline or whatever, and they set it alight. And this was interesting in the fact that the police wanted obviously to interrogate everybody who could be tangentially involved in this situation, and they could not find Raul. He was MIA, he was just missing in action. They could not find him, and they actually ended up having to enlist the help of the international police, Interpol, and you know, some US officials in order to try and locate this guy who was allegedly in Dallas or something. Hiding out? I don't want to use the word hiding out, but later on it came out that he apparently was fearing for his life, and this is why he fled Mexico. But just the bare fact that the police had to like sort of initiate this manhunt to sort of look for him is a bit suspicious in itself. But they were wondering, why did this attack on this casino happen? You know, usually this sort of thing happens when a cartel has a deal with a casino, you know, sort of like with the mafia, how it used to be in New York when they charged businesses a fee basically in order not to attack them. You know, it's a crazy practice. But apparently Raul was asked to pay this cartel money and he refused, and then they attacked this casino, costing the lives of 52 people, including a pregnant woman, which is absolutely disgusting. It's so sad. So basically the police concluded that obviously the cartel was responsible for this. They did not think that it was Raul's fault, although many family members of people who died later on said that they thought that Raul was also responsible, not because he didn't pay the cartel the money, but because they thought that some of the casino's safety measures weren't up to par. Like, for example, there was one firefighter who alleged that when he was inspecting the building after all this happened, he noticed that some of the exits were completely closed off, bricked off, and this was not uncommon during the time because a lot of businesses sort of closed off unnecessary windows, doors and such in order to keep these criminals out. But unfortunately, this could also have meant that a lot of people trying to escape weren't able to. Although the police later on said that all of the safety measures at this casino were up to par, so we'll never truly know. But the family members of the victims don't necessarily think that Raul was 100% innocent either. And so this is why Anne choosing to sell half of Miss Universe to this man, you know, it's a bit icky given this little history that he has. Only weeks after this, the CEO of Miss Universe did step down. Now, Emmerich wasn't with Miss Universe for a very long time, but a lot of people think that she was responsible for some of these incredible changes that were happening at Miss Universe, such as the allowance of married women, pregnant women, etc., etc., which was a huge change and a huge shock to the world. But nonetheless, I do think it was an incredibly, you know, forward-thinking change, and I have supported it like all this time. So Emmerich had stepped down, but the thing is, right, that months before Emmerich had stepped down, Paula Shugart had stepped down. Now, Paula was with Miss Universe for the longest time, since like the early 90s. She was there throughout the Trump ownership of Miss Universe. Donald Trump, yes, he owned Miss Universe for a long time, and also when Trump sold Miss Universe to ING, Paula was still there, and she was a great president for Miss Universe. She was the president of Miss Universe. And she stepped down because apparently she and the current owner of Miss Universe, Anne, do not see eye to eye. And I think that the reason that Amy stepped down is the direction that Anne is going with Miss Universe is not exactly fitting into Amy's personal, you know, moral principles either. So Amy stepping down was quite a shock, just because she wasn't there for that long. And it came so shortly after Paula had stepped down, and so there were basically no one from the original Miss Universe group left at Miss Universe, and it just felt like everything was crashing down all at once. Even India was not safe from the changes brought on by Anne at Miss Universe, because after 10 iconic years of the Miss Diva organization sending women to Miss Universe, they were out and the Glam and Supermodel India group were in, and they established the Miss Universe India organization. This was very shocking because Miss Diva had become so iconic. I mean, they were responsible for some iconic women competing at Miss Universe, including Adeline Castellino and of course Harnas Sandhu, who ended up winning Miss Universe in 2021. No one really wanted to see Miss Diva not be the license holder for Miss Universe anymore, but unfortunately, you know, allegedly, money talks, and Glam and Supermodel India had the funds, you know. And this wasn't the only thing that happened. There were lots of countries who were withdrawing and changing ownership all throughout last year, which had everybody in a panic, because it felt like, once again, everything was crashing down, everything was changing. Now let's address one of the big elephants in the room from last year. How could any of us ever forget the immaculate slap in the face that was the leaked footage from this meeting that happened in Mexico between Anne and some other people. Basically what happened in the video is Anne started talking about all of these new incredible progressive changes that were being implemented when it came to Miss Universe. But then the bomb was dropped, and Anne was clearly in this video heard saying they can compete, they cannot win, when referring to mothers, and I think mainly like plus-sized women and trans women, etc. And for me, this was a major like bomb being dropped, and a lot of people, you know, our suspicions were confirmed that all of these progressive changes that Anne is implementing are just for marketing, they're just for show, they're just for winning over the public.
Trans women, yeah, women with husband, divorced women.
Now
women
they
with
changed
kids.
the limit age. Now
Yes.
I was able to participate.
You
And
can.
You can come back again.
They can compete, but they can compete. But we just put the policy out there now that we have the
Very
social
nice.
inclusion.
That's very
Yeah,
nice.
social inclusion. Otherwise, people will say that.
We also want to have girls that like fashion, even though we know maybe they can compete but they cannot win, but we can have like a cast for models of all different colors, sizes, whatever. So we are going to also to commercialize that kind of thing in an agency. Imagine Miss Universe Mall agency.
Like
or
they
whatever.
are this year, they have real size really. The contestant,
yeah,
very big size.
people will talk about that.
The audience
That's
will
what you
feel
wanted to talk
included.
about.
Exactly.
They feel included. You really know who the winner is. But they're part of the show. But you feel so inclusive about it. You feel you be part of it. When we launch the products like this, they can come to the store without feeling
Yeah,
being
excluded.
alienated.
You
Yeah.
have to target a mass market,
Everyone.
everybody.
Everybody.
The woman wants to feel like a Miss Universe.
Yes, I think woman.
That's it.
Yeah, because it's inspirational.
Okay.
That's
It's all
the thing.
connected.
All connected.
That
All connected for money.
For money, of course.
Yeah, for their money.
Exactly.
Then obviously Miss Universe had to respond to this, right? They couldn't just leave this because this was a major story. And they said basically that these things that were being said and portrayed in this video weren't accurate. Like they were digitally altered to make it look and sound like something that it wasn't. And I know we've seen what AI can do. We have seen what AI can do in the past few years, you know, the sort of videos that can be made and they can replicate your voice entirely and whatnot. But this does not scream, you know, AI generated to me. I feel like something AI generated is clockable. There was too much background noise. There was everything about this video just screamed authentic to me. And so, you know, to each their own. I believe this video is accurate and that it is the truth of what happened. But just for, you know, not getting sued, I have to add that this is just my belief and that the Miss Universe organization claimed that it was digitally altered. So there's that. To add insult to injury, the Miss Universe organization further offended viewers by adding Osmel Sousa to the team. Oh my goodness, where do I even begin on this? So Osmel Sousa is like, he's sort of a figure in pageant history. He was at the helm of Miss Venezuela for the longest time, since the 80s up until very recently, and he did some great things for Venezuela. Or did he do great things for Venezuela, or did he just have great women to work with, you know? I don't know. I refuse to give this man credit, whether he deserves it or not, because he absolutely disgusts me. And when I mean disgust, I mean disgust in capital letters. This man was literally accused of pimping out contestants to politicians and other wealthy individuals. There was never any legal charges brought against him. He was never charged legally with any of this, I might add. But these accusations were made, and you know what? I find them believable based on what I know about his personality. This man does not see women for the whole beings that we are.
Lo que yo digo, la belleza interior no existe. Eso es un tema que inventaron las no bonitas para justificarse. La regla de los concursos internacionales no está establecido de que las niñas tienen que ser completamente naturales. Tienen que ser bellas, pero de dónde viene ese origen no importa.
With everything that we've seen about Osmel, you know, it's not that hard to believe that this man could run a prostitution and trafficking ring for women. There have been no legal proceedings against him. He's never publicly commented on this really, but it's clear that he has no respect for women and has always been objectifying women. So there's that. I do not want to see him with his dirty, crooked claws holding on to our Miss Universe winners and contestants. This man is just nasty in my opinion. I don't want anything to do with him. For a little short of 2 months after they added Osmel to the team, there was some peace when it comes to the Miss Universe until Miss USA happened. Oh my gosh, guys, if you know, you know. Miss USA 2023 resigned, and she was due to be giving her crown away a little bit later on that year. Miss USA has had so much drama for a whole couple of years now. Let's not forget Albany allegedly, you know, being favored above other contestants to win the title, and then Crystal Stewart's like creepy husband messaging contestants. Oh my gosh, guys, Miss USA has been going through it for the longest time. We had this poor woman who was crowned Miss USA 2023 resign, and then just a couple of days later, the crowned Miss Teen USA for 2023 resigned as well. And the thing is, right, there was some theatrics to this, because the Miss USA who resigned, Noelia Voigt, she posted a little statement, of course, as one does, but fans very quickly figured out that it contained a hidden message saying, "I am silenced." Now, of course, being Miss USA, she had signed a non-disclosure agreement and all of that. But a lot of people were annoyed by this because now she wasn't allowed technically to speak out on her decision for resigning, what caused this, etc. This was a whole thing though. I made a super detailed video about this at the time, so feel free to go and watch that. But her resigning was just a shock, and then Miss Teen USA resigning days later, and then obviously the shoes were now left empty and wanting to be filled, and so the title of Miss USA was offered to her runner-up, Savannah, who was from Hawaii, and she accepted, and a lot of people weren't into her accepting this title. They were like, you should be standing by your sister, you should be, you know, declining the title. And this is exactly what happened in the case of Miss Teen USA. The title was also offered to the Miss Teen USA 2023 runner-up, and she declined right away. She didn't want anything to do with this title. She had put Miss Teen USA obviously behind her. She was busy with other things. So I do respect that, and a lot of fans that respect that as well. They were like, yes, you have some sense. Hawaii, from Miss USA, who eventually accepted the Miss USA 2023 title, her mother was very vocal, and I covered all this. It was such a fun video to do. I covered all of this so extensively in my video about this whole thing. But yes, guys, Miss USA and Miss Teen USA both resigned within days of one another, and allegedly the Miss USA organization and their owner, Roux, isn't that great of a person, allegedly. So yes, that is what happened in terms of Miss USA. Let's address the Nigeria-sized elephant in the room for a second. This is also something that I covered extensively on my channel, with loads of video on this whole thing as it was unfolding. So this year at Miss South Africa, there was an amazing contestant called Chidimma Adetshina, and she was just one of many Miss South Africa contestants who had received a lot of hate online because she was not South African enough. Now let me restate this with a clear voice. There were many Miss South Africa contestants this year who were attacked online for not being South African enough. Okay? And I do not like this sort of xenophobia going on in South Africa. I was there recently to visit my sisters because I grew up in South Africa and then moved to Namibia later on. But you know, I've noticed, especially there where I was, Johannesburg area, there is lots of sort of tension between, not even between different nationalities, but between different groups of South African people as a whole. And it's, you know, it's just not a nice feeling. And I thought that it was so ridiculous that every single woman competing at South Africa last year, their whole pedigree was taken apart in order to determine whether or not they're South African enough. And like I said, Chidimma wasn't the only one. There were loads of women being sort of attacked and scrutinized like this. It turns out that Chidimma's mother in 2001 did apparently commit identity theft and fraud in order to gain South African citizenship, in order to register Chidimma as South African. And so Chidimma's South African citizenship status was revoked, and she eventually withdrew from Miss South Africa very shortly before the final competition happened, which was sad. But under the circumstances, I definitely could understand why she did this, or felt she had to do this, or perhaps was likely pressured by the Miss South Africa organization to do this. And I thought, well, this is extremely sad, but there are ways for her to sort out this citizenship issue and then come back to Miss South Africa in a couple of years' time. I mean, she's only 23, 24. But very shortly after Miss South Africa was crowned, the Miss Nigeria organization's owner reached out to Chidimma and asked her to come and join the already established top 24 for Miss Universe Nigeria. Now imagine being a contestant at Miss Universe Nigeria and then the literal owner reaches out to this South African girl to come and compete. I would be sort of iffy about it, although a lot of people did reiterate that no, the contestants were all for this, they also wanted her to come. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Chidimma ended up accepting this offer, and within the same month that Miss South Africa was due to happen, she went to Nigeria to compete for the title of Miss Universe Nigeria. Now, she had some stiff competition, including a former Miss World top 5 candidate, and she ended up winning Miss Universe Nigeria, which I thought was extremely interesting. So she ended up winning Miss Universe Nigeria, and she went over to represent Nigeria at Miss Universe, where, get this, she got the first runner-up title. She almost won. This year has been some year for Chidimma Adetshina. Now, she has stated afterwards that she will not be competing in pageantry for the foreseeable future and that she will probably be staying in Nigeria, although there are ways for her to regain her South African citizenship. I mean, you know, for all intents and purposes, she is South African. She literally grew up here. She went to school here. She was born here, first of all. She went to school here. She speaks with the accent. So Chidimma could technically apply for South African citizenship again, just based on the fact that she was born here, raised here. You know, she's lived here her entire life up until the age like of now, when now she's in Nigeria. It was very, very interesting to watch this whole thing unfold. Felt like an absolute like fever dream or something happening. Speaking of South Africa, the crowned Miss South Africa for 2024 is Mia Leroux. She is a deaf woman, but she has a cochlear implant, meaning that she can hear like some things, but she doesn't hear the way that the rest of us can hear. So she doesn't hear very clearly. She can sort of hear sounds, but not very well. But anyway, she was crowned Miss South Africa, and she has been doing great work in educating all of us on inclusivity for people who have hearing impairments. And I think that her work has been very impactful and very important. But unfortunately, having hearing impairments does come with some problems. And Mia experienced some of this during Miss South Africa. We saw that during Crown Chasers, the Miss South Africa reality show, that one episode she was struggling to keep up because they were supposed to be dancing and she struggled to hear the music. Everyone was laughing. It was just too loud. It was too much. And because she doesn't hear the way that the rest of us hears, it can get sort of confusing. It can get like terribly overwhelming, and you can start to feel, I suppose, overstimulated. And she was also talking about vertigo. Apparently a person's balance is in your ears, and then sometimes when too much is going on all at once, you have to concentrate like 10 times as hard as anybody else just to keep up with what's happening. You can sort of get vertigo and sort of get exhausted, and that is exactly what happened, unfortunately, to our dear Mia Leroux at Miss Universe. She had taken a day off earlier during Miss Universe just to rest and recuperate, because Miss Universe is super fast paced. Like, it is super fast paced. The girls are exhausted. You are always doing something. It's more than 100 women, so there is lots of noise going on at all times. When you walk around, there are also fans trying to get your attention. It's just a lot. And if you are hard of hearing and you have to concentrate super hard on what everyone is doing, then you're going to get absolutely burnt out. And that is unfortunately what happened to our dear Miss South Africa 2024. She, with her hearing problem, unfortunately just could not cope with how extreme Miss Universe is in how fast paced it is and everything that's happening, and you're not getting any sleep, etc, etc. So she actually took the decision for her health to withdraw from Miss Universe, and it was sort of last minute because there were videos of her even getting ready for the national costume competition, but shortly, very, very shortly before the preliminary competition, she did end up withdrawing, which I think is so interesting. You know, she was crowned and she has done all this work to ensure inclusivity, but at the end of the day, Miss Universe just couldn't be accommodating for her. Like, she struggled to compete at Miss Universe because clearly Miss Universe, as it is right now, is set up for able-bodied people, and she just really, really struggled with her disability to be able to keep up with all of this. So that was really sad, because I love Mia. She was incredible during the entirety of Crown Chasers. I mean, how could you not love her? She's just so sweet, she's so kind, she's so adorable and everything, and I just feel so sorry for her for having to go through all of these struggles. And I feel sorry for the women competing at Miss Universe as well, able-bodied or not. Miss Universe is supposed to be a fun experience, and I feel like they put these women through quite a lot. They put these women through too much. It's not necessary for these women having to operate on so little sleep and doing so much. There should definitely be some changes implemented to Miss Universe in order to better facilitate not only people who are not able-bodied, but everybody in general. Everybody's health should be taken into account. I mean, how many times have we heard Miss Universe contestants say that they were absolutely exhausted? That's not healthy. That's not a flex. We shouldn't be working these poor women to like exhaustion. That's not cute. We don't want that. Thank you. One of the most shocking things in conjunction with the Miss Universe competition this year was not only the fact that Denmark won for the very first time, but the absolute atrocious behavior of the owners of Miss Universe after the competition. Let's start with the newest 50% shareholder of Miss Universe, Raul. He retweeted this absolutely stupid tweet made by Donald Trump Jr. on the night of the competition. Referring to the newly crowned Victoria Theilvig, Trump Jr. wrote, "Biological and objectively attractive women are allowed to win beauty pageants again. We are so back." I say this is ridiculous and absolutely laughable because from 1952 up to now, all Miss Universe contestants have been biologically female and objectively attractive. I mean, even let's just forget Miss Universe. All international major pageants, Miss World, Miss International, Miss Grand International, Miss Earth, Miss Supranational, they've all had biological females who were objectively attractive win. Is this just now a thing being said because Victoria, bless her, she's gorgeous, is blonde? I mean, is she any more attractive than any of the women who came before her? Is she more attractive than Zosie or Harnaz just because she is a blonde European woman? What exactly are we trying to say here, and why did the owner of Miss Universe retweet this? I mean, are they sort of trying to imply that Victoria is better than the multitudes of women who have held the Miss Universe title before her just because she is a blue-eyed blonde from Scandinavia? Well, according to the other 50% owner of Miss Universe, yes, blue-eyed blondes are actually the peak of evolution for Miss Universe.
Which are your strategic steps for the evolution of beauty pageant?
Evolution. We have blonde and blue eyes, so we come to the ultimate evolution already.
That's a big step, I know.
We don't need any more revolution here. We get the best here, right?
I do not need to tell you why this rhetoric is harmful. All I can say is that I am absolutely disgusted by the state of things at Miss Universe when it comes to the management and ownership. Let's talk about where I've been. So I haven't posted for a couple of months now, and it's because I've moved. You can tell I'm in a different spot. I'm wearing short sleeve because I'm living somewhere much hotter than I used to live. I moved recently and I've moved a long way. It was a big move. It was like 1,000 kilometers north of where I used to live. I used to live by the ocean, which was cold because, you know, it's the Atlantic Ocean, and now I live literally in the dead middle of Namibia. So I do not live where I used to. I moved. That's why I've been away, and I've also been dealing, you know, across December with Christmas and family things, etc, etc, and it's just been a lot. So I'm sorry I've been away. I will be posting more regularly as of right now, but thank you guys so much for watching this video and for caring about me, the couple of you who actually DM'd me. I do appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.